Have you ever seen someone destroy their own happiness in just one moment? The grand hall shimmered under golden lights, guests were laughing, and the scent of roses filled the air. It was Emma and Ryan's wedding day, one that looked like a fairy tale. Behind the lens stood Michael, a calm and polite photographer known for his professionalism. His assistant Sarah quietly adjusted the lights while Michael captured the smiles and emotions of the couple. But not everyone smiled back at him. From the beginning, Emma gave him sharp looks. Her tone carried irritation every time she spoke to him. "Make sure my pictures don't look cheap," she snapped, glancing at Michael's dark skin as if it defined his talent. Michael smiled gently, ignoring the sting. He had faced worse in life and learned that silence was often stronger than anger. When he asked her to pose near the fountain, Emma rolled her eyes. "Don't tell me what to do," she said. The guests around grew quiet, sensing tension. Ryan, the groom, tried to ease the moment with a laugh, but Emma's pride didn't let it go. Then, in a shocking flash, she slapped Michael across the face in front of everyone. The sound echoed louder than the music. The hall froze. Sarah gasped, tears welling up in her eyes. Michael stood still, his cheek burning but his expression calm. The security guard stepped forward, but Mr. Collins, the manager, signaled them to wait. Emma shouted, "You don't tell me what to do in my wedding," the crowd whispered, some pulling out phones to record. Michael slowly lowered his camera and whispered, "I was only doing my job, ma'am." His voice was steady, but inside something broke, not his pride, but his patience with injustice. What no one knew was that the person Emma had just humiliated was not just a photographer, but the owner of the entire venue. Before he could say a word, he quietly handed his camera to Sarah and walked out of the hall. The silence that followed was heavier than any music that could play that night. What would you do if you were in Michael's place? Stay silent or speak up for your dignity? Tell us in the comments, and subscribe to Stained Humanity. Have you ever walked away quietly, only to return with power no one expected? After the slap, Michael stepped outside the glowing hall into the cold night air. The laughter and music behind him faded, but the sting on his cheek stayed. He looked up at the grand venue he had built with years of sweat and sacrifice, a place where he believed people of all colors could celebrate love equally. Tonight, that dream had been stained. Sarah ran after him, her eyes full of concern. "Michael, you didn't deserve that," she said softly. He nodded, forcing a smile. "It's all right, Sarah. Some lessons teach themselves," he replied, but deep inside he wasn't calm. The humiliation cut deep. He had faced racism before, but never in his own house, his own venue. He remembered the days when he had to sleep in his car while saving money to buy this property. Every brick of this hall was built with struggle and pain, and now he had been slapped here like a servant. Back inside, Emma laughed it off with her bridesmaids. "I don't care who he is. People like him should know their place," she whispered, her voice dripping with arrogance. Ryan, her groom, looked uneasy but said nothing. He knew his bride's temper, but Mr. Collins, the event manager, approached her quietly. "Ma'am, the photographer you just hit, you might want to be careful," he said. Emma frowned. "Why should I?" Collins hesitated. "Because this venue belongs to him." Emma's smile vanished. The color drained from her face. "What do you mean it belongs to him?" she asked in disbelief. "Michael owns this entire property," Collins replied. "He just prefers working quietly behind the scenes." The hall suddenly felt colder. Whispers started to spread among guests as the news leaked from table to table. Outside, Michael sat in his car, watching the windows glow. He thought of walking away, but something inside told him not to. "Respect isn't something you beg for," he whispered to himself. "It's something you show by standing tall." With slow determination, he stepped out of his car and began walking back toward the hall. Each step echoed like thunder in his heart. When Michael entered again, every head turned. The music stopped mid-beat. Emma froze, holding her bouquet with trembling hands. Michael's calm eyes met hers. The same man she had humiliated now stood before her, not as a worker, but as the owner of everything around her. He didn't shout or accuse. He simply said, "Let's continue the photos. I wouldn't want your special day to be remembered for the wrong reasons." The grace in his tone burned her more than any anger could. People watched in awe as the man she insulted treated her with dignity she never gave him. The night carried on, but something inside everyone had changed. Behind every flash of Michael's camera, there was a silent message: true power doesn't need to scream. Do you think Michael did the right thing by staying calm, or should he have exposed her pride in front of everyone? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you believe that dignity speaks louder than anger, subscribe to Stained Humanity. Have you ever realized the person you humiliated could be the only one who saves your reputation? The wedding continued, but the laughter had faded. The crowd whispered behind Emma's back, and her once proud smile began to tremble. Every camera flash reminded her of what she had done. Michael's calm presence haunted her more than any anger could. He moved around silently, taking photos as if nothing happened, but his eyes carried a quiet power that everyone could feel. Ryan, the groom, tried to cheer her up. "Let's just enjoy the night, Emma," he said nervously, but she couldn't. Every guest now knew the truth. Even Mr. Collins, the manager, kept his distance, avoiding her sharp glances. The tension in the air was thick, but then the lights suddenly went out. The hall fell into darkness. A few gasps echoed through the crowd. After a moment, a spotlight flickered on, shining directly on the big screen at the front of the room. The projector came to life, showing a slideshow of photos from the wedding, all taken by Michael. The first few were normal, the couple smiling, guests laughing, kids dancing. But then came one picture that froze everyone, the exact moment Emma slapped Michael. The silence in the room turned painful. The picture captured not just the act, but the shock and sadness on Michael's face. Emma's hands began to shake. "Turn it off," she screamed, but no one moved. Ryan looked horrified, realizing their perfect wedding was now remembered for this single, cruel moment. Michael stood quietly in the corner, expression unreadable. After a few seconds, he stepped forward and said softly, "I didn't put that slide in." The crowd looked confused. Sarah, his assistant, whispered, "Sir, I didn't either." That's when Mr. Collins stepped forward, his face pale. "It was me," he said. "People needed to see what respect looks like and what it doesn't." The hall erupted in murmurs. Emma's arrogance crumbled completely. Tears filled her eyes. For the first time, she saw not a worker, but a man, someone she had humiliated without reason. She walked toward Michael slowly, her voice shaking. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know who you were." Michael looked at her quietly and replied, "You didn't need to know who I was. You just needed to know what respect is." His words hit her harder than any slap could. As the guests applauded softly, Michael turned toward the door. He didn't stay for thanks or forgiveness. He simply walked away into the night, his head held high, leaving behind a lesson the crowd would never forget. Sometimes, silence speaks louder than any revenge. If you believe that respect should never depend on skin color or status, hit subscribe. Have you ever realized too late that your actions broke someone who only came to build your happiness? It had been 3 days since the wedding, 3 long days of silence and shame for Emma. The moment she slapped Michael replayed in her mind every time she closed her eyes. The laughter that once surrounded her wedding now felt like echoes of guilt. The headlines online read, "Bride slaps photographer who owns the venue." The video clip, recorded by a guest, had gone viral. Her perfect life was now a public lesson in pride and prejudice. Ryan tried to comfort her, but he too was embarrassed. "We can't undo what happened, Emma," he said softly, "but you can make it right." Emma knew he was right. The only way to find peace was to face the man she had hurt. So she gathered her courage and drove to the venue again, this time without makeup, without pride, just truth. When she arrived, the hall was empty, quiet, and peaceful. Michael was there, sitting near the fountain, the same place where he had asked her to pose. He looked up, surprised to see her. For a moment, neither spoke. The air was heavy with unspoken words. Finally, Emma said, "I came to say sorry, not because everyone hates me now, but because I hate the person I was that night." Her voice broke as tears streamed down her face. Michael watched her quietly, his expression soft but firm. "I accept your apology," he said gently, "but don't say sorry to me, Emma. Say it to yourself. Learn from it." She nodded, breaking down completely. I judged you for something you never chose, your color, she said. You showed me what real class looks like. Michael smiled faintly. We all make mistakes, he replied. But not everyone gets the chance to turn them into lessons. He stood up and walked toward her. This hall was built to celebrate love, not shame. If you truly understand that now, then maybe this place did its job. Emma looked at him with tears and whispered, You taught me more about humanity than any book ever could. Michael nodded once and turned back toward the fountain, where the water sparkled under the daylight. For him, it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reminding the world that dignity doesn't need a spotlight, it just needs truth. As she left the venue, Emma stopped by the entrance and glanced back. On the wall hung a small golden plaque she had never noticed before. It read, Stained Humanity, a place where every soul deserves respect. For the first time, she smiled, not out of pride, but out of understanding. Do you believe forgiveness is the strongest form of power? Tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were Michael? If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Stained Humanity, where every story reminds us that no color defines worth, only character does.